Thank you for joining me again for Bible study. This week we're approaching the second Sunday of Advent, that 4-week season where the church prepares for Christmas. And our readings for this season of Advent have been grouped into what I call a season of hope. Our reading for this week is from Joel chapter 2, verses 12 and 13, and 28 and 29. If you haven't had a chance to read the reading yet, then I encourage you to pause the video. In the video details, there will be links to the two portions of the reading. You can read them and then come back and pick up from this point going forward. If you don't have time to read the reading at the moment, that's okay. I'll give you a quick summary of what's going on. God invites people to have a change of heart. That's the first part of our reading. And then the second part. Everyone is given the blessing of God's Spirit. We hear in this reading that God is slow to anger, abounding in steadfast love, and relents from punishing. Yet many Christians form this divide between the Hebrew or Jewish scriptures and what we call the New Testament or the Christian scriptures. Many Christians see the texts of the Hebrew or Jewish scriptures as pointing to a jealous God, one that punishes people for sin. And yet there are plenty of references in the Jewish scriptures of God being slow to anger, loving, and relenting. This from Exodus 34, verse 6. The Lord passed before him and proclaimed, the Lord, a God merciful and gracious, slow to anger, and abounding in steadfast love and faithfulness." This from Jonah chapter 4, verse 2. He prayed to the Lord and said, "O Lord, is not this what I said while I was still in my own country? That is why I fled to Tarshish in the beginning. For I knew that you are a gracious God and merciful, slow to anger, and abounding in steadfast love, and ready to relent from punishing." And this from Psalm 86, verse 15. "But you, O Lord, are a God merciful and gracious, slow to anger, and abounding in steadfast love and faithfulness." All of this leads to our first question for today. What is your overarching view of God based on the Jewish scripture stories that you know? Is God slow to anger, loving, relenting? Or does God punish generations for guilty behavior? I encourage you to take a moment and pause the video and reflect on your overarching view of God based on the stories that you know from the Jewish scriptures. Every once in a while, there's a word in the English translations of the scriptures that just seems to stick. with translation after translation, even though we don't use it that much anymore. I can't remember the last time I used the word rend outside of reading this reading. So what does it mean to rend our hearts? The NLT, the New Living Translation, uses tear your hearts, which, quite frankly, sounds to me even worse than rend. I don't want to tear my heart. This, though, from feasting on the Word. We are called to break open our hearts, to allow our hearts to be broken for the good of the whole world. Now this I can understand as a translation, to break open my heart. And it leads to our second question for today. What do we need to break open our hearts to? For each one of us, our hearts get closed from time to time. We get hurt, and we don't want to have that experience again, so we close our hearts. And yet we are called to open them, to break them open. And I encourage you to pause the video for a moment and to take some time to reflect on what your heart needs to be more open to. It could be something very close to you, or it could be something far away. What do you need to open your heart to? Once you've had time to reflect on these questions, I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you didn't catch the questions as they were displayed on the screen, don't worry about it. They're down in the video details as well. Please let me know what you think. And I hope that you'll join me again in a couple of days for some more Bible study.